So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L and I'm back. And today's video, shout outs to that chapter, is gonna be Kimberly Proctor and the Messenger Killers. Right? Description reads, friends, pretty much friends gone wrong. Now, the triggering thing in that description is the word friends for me. Not that I don't have them. No, I got a good personality, got cool friends. We've been rocking for a long time. Like, since we were 5, 6, 7 years old, we've been rocking with each other, right? That's, to me, the definition. Somebody you've been. Nowadays, this word is so loosely, you meet a person at Walmart, the next week, y'all are best friends taking trips. It triggers me, that word nowadays, because people use it loosely and they barely even know the person. All right, so we got Kimberly Proctor and the Messenger Killer. So we're gonna check this video out. Shout outs to that chapter. If you new, hit that subscribe button and join the fam and prepare yourselves. All right, make sure that door is locked and that window is secure. Let's check this out.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, well, to begin, we're talking a few things. We're talking Canada, so look forward to that. We're also talking about MSN Messenger. Those are the good old days. This story takes us to British Columbia, home of such legendary tales as Rocky Rambo, Big Bobby Picton, and even closer to this story, the one of Lindsay Buziak. This one is it's right up there with those ones, so buckle up, buckaroos. We got the aforementioned MSN. We got World of Warcraft, so look forward to that. And then we gotta just give it a go.
Wow, how many of y'all go back that far?
If you thought Vancouver City was the capital of British Columbia, you'd be wrong. The honor, what a joke, goes to Victoria on Vancouver Island. And just to the left of Victoria, if you were looking at it like an alien, you would see more land and water. But if you were an alien with Google Maps, you'd see a little location called Langford. The langiest of fords. It owes its history to the Hudson Bay Company, the alleged biggest beaver hunting company in history, wink wink. Today it's part of the Greater Victoria area and is home to about 35,000 people. It's surrounded by beautiful parks, lakes and inlets, and was recently voted the most livable city in Canada. Golf clap. So now what I'm about to tell you, it pretty much goes against like all that. So armed with knowledge of the scene, let's set the story. Pacific Secondary is a school, or was a school. It's an early learning center today. And it just lay off Souk Road, East Langford, a Long Island highway that would take you, if you were so inclined, into Victoria itself. The school was an alternative school, a place for, troubled teens, people who needed a little bit extra attention, troublemakers, that sort of thing. And that is where Kimberly Proctor learned.
I swear, we used to have a lot of those back home, man. Not a lot of them. I think the main one for us was called Crossroads. That's what they actually called the alternative school. Crossroads.
Troublemakers, that sort of thing. And that is where Kimberly Proctor learned. Kimberly was born on the 1st of January 1992, and at the time our story takes place, 2010, she was 18. She was born in Victoria, daughter of parents Fred and Lucy, having one older brother, Rob. Kim, she was kind, social, an animal lover, and very family-oriented. But she had her own issues. Get in line. Growing up, she was bullied in school, and then combined with her ADD medication, which kind of had her in a permanently zoned-out state, that led her to attending Pacific Secondary in the autumn of 2010. And there, she had friends. She had a few. She had a boyfriend. She had a good group. Okay, maybe not a good group. The friends would hang out all the time, smoking the devil's lettuce, hanging at the mall, and, when they weren't together, they were...
I'm stealing that, bro. He just said the devil's lettuce. I've never heard that before. I'm using that one. That may go on a caption today on IG if I remember to post something. Yo, that's crazy.
I'm smoking that devil's lettuce, hanging at the mall, and, when they weren't together, they were on MSN, baby. Who wasn't? Poor one out for the L fella, but come on, I mean, I guess we gotta kind of be glad it's not around anymore. I do not need to cringe out of existence. For a few months, Kimberly dated one of the guys in the group, a guy named Zach. It wouldn't last that long, just a couple of months and it would fizzle out, high school relationships, whatever. And she eventually started talking more and more to two guys and kind of started fancying one of them, a guy named Cruz Wellwood. Cruz was bad news, and he kind of had like a bit of a skeleton in his closet, too. See, Cruz's father was Robert Deswan, and in 2001, this sack of shit sexually assaulted a First Nations girl, Cherish Oppenheim, and then beat her to death, leaving her body on a lonely road near Merritt, about a 6-hour drive into British Columbia.
Deswan's father begged him to tell the truth.
This is my own words, your mother's words. If you made a mistake, tell us where the body is, because we gotta live in town.
Now, this guy already had a long history. In fact, 6 months before he murdered Cherish, he was arrested. He was actually out on bail when he murdered Cherish for robbing a woman, confining her, and then sexually assaulting her with a weapon. And even years before, again, he was convicted of breaking into a woman's home and stuffing a rag into her mouth. He pleaded...
What the fuck? Whoa. See, this is the scary thing, right? Because you can never tell your kids who to be friends with. You know what I mean? You can only try to guide them because you're not always around them 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, right? So when they go off to school, you're not there to say, hey, man, that kid right there. And then how do you know who that kid's connected to? See, this is the scary things about it right here. You can only hope that your kid has been brought up. You have given him the values, the core values, and you know what I mean? The smarts to be able to identify who's the person you might not need to hang around with and hope that they stay away from. Like, this is scary right here. For your daughter to now be dating somebody connected to this person.
He was convicted of breaking into a woman's home and stuffing a rag into her mouth. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for the death of Cherish and got no parole for 15 years. He was not a fan, and in fact, in 2017, he would escape his minimum security prison, but he was arrested the same day. So what Cruz essentially kind of had to grow up with wasn't easy, right, as you can imagine. No diggity, no doubt, but what he did find easy was following in his father's footsteps. But here, come on, I hear you barking, big dog, we'll get there. So Cruz grew up troubled and was said to have a rude, arrogant, and superior attitude, hence him going to that school. He would steal, destroy shit, smoking that reefer, and displaying severe antisocial behavior. But when he became good friends with another member of that kind of friends group, that's when things kind of really accelerated down the sewage pipe. Cameron Moffat made up the other half of the gruesome twosome, another bright spark over here. He was 1 year older than Cruz and had been sexually abused at age 3. And from then he became, at an early age, difficult to manage, destructive, and dangerous. They would drop in and out of school, set shit on fire together, and the violence just grew and grew, pushing the boundaries each and every time. They both verbally and physically abused parents, were involved in fights, in one case slashing open another teenager's head with a bicycle chain. In the summer of 2009, Cruz was hospitalized after he drank so much he gave himself alcohol poisoning. Whoa, dude. That's fucking cool. The school itself would identify them both as high-risk students with difficult backgrounds. So when they weren't out, doing shit that would get your alarm bells ringing, they were playing, World of Warcraft. And
so basically what it sounds like to me is, you send your kids to these alternative schools and you think, well, you're not sending them there. A lot of times they get sent there because they're not able to coexist with the students in the normal school of high school, middle school, or whatever it is. They're unable to coexist there with the other kids, so they have to be sent there, right? So your kid gets sent there. You would think they're going to a situation that is going to help them get back on the track or get back on the right track to get them back over amongst the other kids again, right? But it's kind of like they're here and they're amongst other troubled teens, and it's like they're going there with an associate's and coming out with a doctorate of violence. You know what I mean? They're going in there with a minor of this and coming out with a major of this. Like, fam.
And then
A bicycle chain? Bro, he got a kid's head with a bicycle chain. Come on.
in February 2009, Cruz, he had a little WordPress blog, and he wrote, he wrote an entry basically about early signs of a serial killer. And it's all like the big hits, all the good ones. You got an abusive childhood, you got torturing animals, you got arson, you got basically just being antisocial behavior and all that kind of stuff. And so Cruz, he posted about it, and then was like, shit, that sounds like me. Oh well. So off to just a great start here. So now at this point here, I guess you could say this part is kind of a spoiler, but I found it interesting, and I hope you will too, to know what they would later be diagnosed with. I feel it'll be good to know when we're reviewing the transcripts of them talking to Kimberly Proctor. So lovely, innocent teenage girl, what you would expect. Both Cruz and Cameron would be diagnosed as psychopaths and sexual sadists, with no capacity for remorse at all. And psychiatrists would later testify they had almost no chance of rehabilitation. So Kimberly, Cruz, and Cameron were all part of this little gang in Langford, and Cruz and Cameron were going off the deep end. Unfortunately, they were determined to take somebody with them, and that would be Kimberly. Kim started talking more and more to Cruz online, Cameron too, and in May 2009 he said he had a crush on her. Here's some transcripts, a little high school, cringy parts, but hey, all been through that shite. And this is what Cameron said in a couple of messages to her, and this is when Kimberly was still dating Zach. It's some creepy shit. She didn't, by the way. Here's a curated selection of conversations she had with both Cruz and Cameron, and they would speak more and more often, sharing more and more. And at the same time, the boys are becoming more and more unhinged, drinking blood, drinking bodily fluids.
And she's talking to the both of them. These two crazy, and she's this is the worst situation that can happen. And parents, we so naive to what's going on, we don't even know what's going on. Like, this is scary.
Talking to each other more and more about their, increasingly depraved fantasies. This all takes us to the 18th of March, 2010. Cruz and Cam had already decided on Kim. She was going to be the one they would finally carry out their fantasies on. So, under a ruse of meeting up and talking about Zach and her breaking up with him, and I guess high school kind of drama, bullshit, whatever, they said they would meet up on the morning of the 18th of March. At the same time, this is him and Cameron messaging. That morning, Kim didn't have class, so while her mother was out, she was heading off for the Langford bus exchange in the centre of town. There, the three of them met at about 10:20 a.m. and later took her to Cruz's house on Happy Valley Road. What a name. Then Kimberly Proctor went missing.
Proctor was last seen wearing a hoodie like this with the number 13 on the front. Police are asking anyone who may have seen Kimberly between Thursday and Friday morning to contact West Shore RCMP or Crime Stoppers.
Kimberly's mother, Lucy, knew something was wrong pretty immediately when she never showed up again at home. She had a babysitting job that she never attended, and then Lucy couldn't. Every time she tried to call Kimberly, it just went straight to voicemail. She then, contacted the police, and the search was on. In the meantime, though, Cruz and Cameron, perfectly normal.
Police still don't know the name of the woman whose body was badly burned beneath this bridge on the Galloping Goose Trail, but investigators are getting some good information.
It was 36 hours after Kimberly met the two boys on the evening of the 19th of March, a Friday. She was found.
The woman has not yet been identified. RCMP don't know who she is, but they have spoken to the...
And you sit at home and you hearing the news and you hearing all this going on, and in your mind, you're praying that it's not your kid. You're praying that it's not your kid. But all the while in the back of your mind, you almost know. You know. And that's got to be the worst feeling as a parent. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're completely clueless of what's going on.
Families of several missing women, including the family of 18-year-old Kimberly Proctor. The Langford teen hasn't been seen since last week.
Her body had been badly burned and then left under a bridge along Galloping Goose Trail. She was identified via dental records.
Police are warning everyone, especially women, to be aware of their surroundings while the killer is still on the loose.
And then the investigation began. And it would be ended by a certain World of Warcraft conversation. To solve the murder, the police soon honed in on two things: her circle of friends and family, and her digital trail left behind. As a teenager, who was always on her computer, they knew where and when she had last been seen at the bus terminal, and she must have been meeting someone there, right? So she must have been talking to someone online. In the meantime, Cameron, and especially Cruz, became more unhinged and more paranoid. In school, they'd say, they were glad she's dead, they hated her. And then they'd talk to each other on MSN about how much they enjoyed it. A week after the murder, Cameron sent to Cruz, "Since we killed that bitch and it wasn't too hard, we should do it again." They were both questioned by the police, who kind of zoned in on them pretty quickly multiple times. And each time both Cruz and Cam would say, "Yeah, we did meet up with her that morning, but then she left, went off to meet someone else." Whom? At the time, Cruz was dating a girl from Halifax, and 5 days after Kim's murder, he confessed to her.
How does that make y'all feel about the dating scene right now? Those of you who are single, those of you who are actively out here dating. How does this, hearing stuff like this make you feel? Because I'm not talking about the girl, Kimberly, that they've already done something to. He moved on to another girl. So you meet a person that you know nothing about that has just committed such a heinous crime. How does that make y'all feel out in the dating world? That's scary.
He confessed to his girlfriend over World of Warcraft chat, and the reason he did it there was because he assumed or thought that the chat logs weren't saved, whereas they would be saved on MSN. So he thought, They would do it and then the chats would be deleted. It would leave no trail behind. Boy, was he wrong. What happened to Kimberly Proctor was pretty gruesome. I don't want to get graphic, so I won't. But as soon as they entered the house on Happy Valley Road, Cruz and Cameron attacked Kimberly, beating her and then hog-tied her. They stuffed a sock in her mouth and they raped and beat her for a long time. She was also mutilated with a knife before dying of suffocation. Then they put her in a freezer. Even at one point while Kim was being tortured and in the freezer, Cruz took the time to go back on MSN Messenger. When he didn't reply to his friend for a while, this was his response. The next morning they put her body in a hockey bag.
You're kidding me. Basically, like, he's enjoying this. Every moment and second of, like, the freezer is jumping around. Are you kidding me?
And got on a bus. They then dumped her under a bridge along Galloping Goose Trail after burning her. He said all of this to his girlfriend. She then promptly said all of this to the police. After the police got warrants to monitor all their communications, analyze their digital histories, and bug their phones, they were arrested on the 18th of March. Cruz and Cam would try and lay the blame for what happened at each other's feet, though Cruz was certainly the more intelligent one and the likely mastermind. They never seemed remorseful about it, either when they were in the van being brought to the court or during the police interviews. Here's the van first and what they were yapping away about.
Does my hair look better back like this? Or should I just like... Because I figure if it's greasy, I might as well pull it back. My lawyer said you might be able to get tried as a youth, because during the time it took place, you were a youth.
No. Same, well, you're still a youth.
Yeah.
Showed me pictures, everything.
They were really trying to stroke my ego, tell me how smart they think I am, and oh, you're so good at manipulating and things like that.
Really? They just made it seem like I got screwed over, and they're like, we understand, and like, you touched me.
The entire time, I had this expression.
I just laughed at like half the things they said, and just like, sat there with a big ass grin on my face.
They're like, remorse. Do you feel any remorse? Any regrets? Anything inside of you? Any remorse? Regrets? Any remorse?
So when that's happening, what's going through your head? Everything. A million miles an hour.
All right, y'all, this audio is pretty bad, so I want y'all to hear it and think it's on my end. No, it's the audio and the video. It's bad, so I can't even clearly tell what he just said.
Everything. A million miles an hour. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, yeah. And how do you feel inside? The biggest adrenaline rush you ever have, because it's, what the fuck? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't imagine. I've had adrenaline rushes, but I can imagine that this is a huge adrenaline dumping. Not in a good way either. Like when you're doing something like physical and it's intense, adrenaline. It's like, oh, that's such a good rush. Yeah, I love doing that, and this is just like the adrenaline where it's like, oh my freaking god, you might puke your guts out. And fight or flight. Have you ever experienced that before? Yeah. So this is probably the biggest event of fight or flight in your whole life? Probably. I was in and out of the room a lot. Okay. Alright. Still going on that adrenaline rush there, right? Don't want anything to do with it, but I don't want to freak him out because it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Oh no, that's
Are you kidding? This is what I mean. Who are your friends? He instantly starts blaming the other kid, trying to get himself out of it when they both were involved.
He's not running, he's, strutting around the house, like, yelling at himself. It's like, kind of things. This just happened, what happens finally? Right. Yeah. So it's the fight or flight thing. It's like, listen, and maybe I'll get, through this and nothing will come of it. Yeah. So that's what's going through your head at that time. It's self-preservation. So what do? I left the room. I went and sat in the living room. Just the TV was on, and just sitting there, wholeheartedly trying to forget what's happening and watching the TV, just watching the TV, nothing else, not thinking, not talking. I can't even say I was breathing. I was just watching the TV with all my concentration. Okay. And you can only draw the line so far with disturbing or just gruesome, horrific, completely disgusting, horrifying. There's going to be a time and place one day when this is just going to be so easy to tell. Mm-hmm. The truth doesn't come in portions. I'm telling you the truth. I'm just not telling you every single little thing that happened down to the tiniest grain of detail I can come up with. Mm-hmm. And trust me, there's a lot of really disgusting. Like, why can't you bring yourself to talk about that? Because
I'm sorry right now, but the whole laughing and smiling and smirking, somebody did, like, you just feel like it's okay to laugh during this or smile. You really don't understand the severity of the situation, or are you that deranged and sick in your head to where this is all a big joke and a game to you? That's what I'm thinking.
So, yeah. I can't say. You need to be honest. Well, I will. Like I said, in due time.
They both pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and indignity to human remains. They didn't want to go through the entire trial. They both got life with no parole for 10 years. Though with the psychiatric reports, it's unlikely they will ever be free men, nor should they be. They seemed eager to give it another go. Both Cameron and Cruz were not serial killers, but they seemed bloody eager to be. Remarkably, two people so similar and so sick found each other. And it's almost one of those cases where, you know, they would have done this to someone regardless of any exterior factors. They lacked remorse and empathy. By the way, shout out to CBS who used this to title their article. The only role it played was the confession because they thought the conversation wouldn't be saved. But I guess this was at the height of games is bad. This is how NBC News titled the exact same article. Another pretty scary thing is that while they were torturing and murdering Kimberly in Cruz's house, while they were doing that, Cameron texted. He texted an ex-girlfriend asking her to pop on over. She didn't. I guess they were, eager to keep it going. They were diagnosed with, well, all the bad stuff. In 2019, after almost a decade in prison, they were reassessed. No changes at all. The end of their non-parole period was coming up, and psychologists refused to support any kind of release, and they were both denied parole. Most recently, Cruz, a diagnosed clinical psychopath, denied in 2020. As experts found them to be of high risk of essentially reoffending and doing what they did to Kimberly again, I think they're top of the leaderboard in the sweepstakes of lock them up and fuck away the key.
Sheesh. You hear this type of, like I said, man, parenting isn't easy. Trying to stay on top of who your kids' friends are. You don't want to be that parent that just keep them locked away in the house all the time. You know what I mean? It's a struggling balance, bro. It's a struggling balance. And you notice different things in your kids and you try to get them help and they get sent to alternative schools and different things start to happen and they spiral out of control. And stuff like this happens. Prayers to the family of Kimberly. Man, it's devastating, bro. Devastating. You're a young kid. Had to end up in that type of situation and be done that way. It's horrible, 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 man. Listen, fam, I ain't saying sit down and show this to your kids, but if you want to, do so and talk to them about different things, man. And let them know it's okay to be able to talk to you and be careful and try to have a good gauge of judgment amongst people you interact with, and just encourage them to, you know what I'm saying, to identify ones like these. All right, so y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think, and stick around and stay tuned. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.